It is podcasting time. I'm James Piecowye. This man is Glenn Power. It is the PowerWorks podcast. We're going to be talking about cars and stuff for about the next 50 minutes. Those joining us from 100.3, the home of news, sports, and conversation, you've got us. Sorry. Yeah. You're going to be caught at the roundabout somewhere. Maybe you got a flat. Just crank it. Enjoy. We'll keep you company as you get through your day. And if you're joining us any other way as well, because of course there's thousands of you who like to join us via YouTube and Spotify and Instagram and Facebook. Hello. Welcome to the program. Great to have you with us. We're going to be talking cars and helping you to be more informed about the automotive industry. That is the goal.
It's the goal. Also helping you fall asleep. So don't operate any heavy machinery. I do have a few people who have told me that is something that they use this podcast for.
The dulcet tones. So I was in Cyprus and got to live the Glen Dream.
The Glen Dream.
The Glen Dream.
This is boring.
We ended up getting an Opel as a rental.
Oh.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, nothing redeeming about an Opel, actually. I don't even know what model of Opel it was. It was that unredeeming that I didn't even bother to look to see what it was.
Yeah.
It was, I think it got worse gas mileage than my Jeep Wrangler 2009.
You just make a mess of everything, those things. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I thought, oh, great, nice small car's going to get great gas mileage. No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
General Motors sort of umbrella, and they're called Vauxhalls in the UK.
Okay, Vauxhall.
And there's a big sort of, it's like I guess it's probably the same as Toyota and Nissan with Vauxhall owners in the UK. It's sort of their rival, would you say, in terms of, car owners would be VW. So obviously I was on the VW side of things, and Vauxhall was the enemy sort of thing. But yeah, I just, there's never been any. We got one rented one summer, and we did a lot of miles in it. Actually, we went from the middle of England all the way down to Cornwall, right to the tip. Did a lot of miles in it, but and some of them they get you as well. Some of them get you. It's like you look at them and think, oh, it's not bad. Not bad looking car.
No, don't get me wrong. The body shape, the lines.
Yeah.
This thing had 116,000 kilometers on it.
Yeah.
So it had been driven. And it drove okay. It rolled okay.
I've never been in one.
USBs. No USBs. Nothing.
Yeah.
No connectivity.
They really do the bog standard very well.
Even so,
prolifically.
I lived your dream because the back windows were Armstrong.
Yes.
And so we didn't have kids, but you want to have the back windows open because it wasn't that hot to need AC, but I'd like to have a little wind blowing.
Yeah.
So I was always reaching back, almost dislocating a shoulder to unwind them.
Yeah.
Living the dream.
Yeah. I mean, I've always had a problem with the dashboards, the finish of them, the seats. I've always had problems with it. Now, understandably, rental cars are not necessarily a fair snapshot because they're usually low to mid-spec maximum.
This one was low spec, clearly.
But, man, do they do low spec.
It had the weirdest gearbox. And I didn't do any investigation to take a look and see if this thing was a CVT. I don't think it was.
I'd be surprised if it was, to be honest.
But the gearbox was automatic transmission, which is fine. It was right-hand drive. So, one less thing I had to keep my concentration on, which is fine. So I didn't mind having automatic. Although I'm thinking it would have been a much better drive manual transmission. So I was regretting that after that it wasn't a manual. Anyway, the way it transitioned through the gears felt like it was a manual transmission. All of the mannerisms of the car was as if someone was behind the dashboard changing the gears. It was the weirdest transmission.
Yeah, so they've gone the sort of, well, they've gone the way of everybody, where most people double clutch, apart from BMW originally when they did the SMG, which was literally a manual transmission with a hydraulic and a control unit. doing the job of your left foot
Yeah.
and the clutch pedal. Most direct shift or double clutch transmissions now are sort of manual. Well, not sort of, they are manual gearboxes. Yeah. But obviously, Opel haven't quite mastered the shift,
No,
the art of the shift. I
mean,
mean,
and there were the other thing that got me. There was no park mode in this car. You put it in neutral, so it was literally like having a manual transmission. You put it in neutral, fire on the parking brake, which is fine. It's like, it is good because you should put the parking brake on. But I just thought that was weird. It just was. Give me the manual transmission then. It was just strange.
Yeah, I mean, the problem now is you're going to find it very, very hard for manufacturers to justify manual transmissions because they have such, to be frank, ridiculous emissions targets to hit that, they can't afford a driver to have control of the gearbox because the driver could just sit there in second gear.
I wonder, and I'd love to hear from folks who are listening in, joining us in the conversation. Do people want manual gearboxes anymore? Do people want a standard transmission anymore? I mean, I know I'm romanticizing about it, and we've had many cars in our lives, my wife and I, that were manual transmissions. I don't know if I want one for, weekend runabout, have some fun. I don't know if I'm caught in traffic on the highway if I want a manual transmission. I mean, you drive manuals here.
Yeah, every day. Vans, yeah.
So it's a moot discussion, really.
I love driving a manual.
Yeah.
Love driving a manual. And, it's just one of those things you get used to. Obviously, in the UK, as I left in 2012, it was sort of shifting a little bit. And again, only because of the emissions targets, but the
manuals are fun.
Yeah, and also though what we did have on the sort of, if you like, purist side of the argument for the manual gearbox is that the DSG and the automatics were a lot more expensive and they were an extra. So if you bought a Golf GTI, for example, in the UK in 2012, it was probably 28, 30k pounds. But if you wanted a DSG gearbox in it, you'd pay another few thousand pounds for that. So people would max their credit out to buy a GTI and be like, oh, well, I can't really afford the DSG. And it wasn't something anybody had really had before that. If you'd had a Golf GTI up until the Mark 5, you weren't having it with an automatic. It was a manual.
Yeah.
So no one buying one because the previous one they'd liked was going to buy or spec one with an auto, which, although the DSG isn't an auto technically, it, to all intents and purposes, is an automatic car.
I wonder if, in a sense, people haven't been driving the manual transmissions just because, as you said, automakers are firing in automatic transmissions because they can get the emissions down. But because people haven't been driving them, they'd have no reference point. They just think, this is just the way it is.
I would love somebody, let's say, where we live now, that this is a common thing. Let's say somebody passes their driving test and they pass in a manual because it makes sense to learn in a manual. But the first car they buy is likely going to be 2 pedals, automatic. So let's say somebody buys their 18-year-old son or daughter a Golf GTI with a DSG in it. Mark 7, Mark 8, new one. One of the best shifting gearboxes you could get. Let's say they buy them that. And then they go back to the UK and they've got lazy and they don't want to drive a manual. And they're 19, 20 years old, and then they go and get a rental, which is an automatic Opel.
Soulless.
Imagine the difference. Imagine the difference in the gear shift, how it feels. They're going to think there's something wrong with it. They will think there's something wrong with it. And that's, the technology's gone amazing now for transmissions, and part of it down to the fact that engineers, that's what we do. We always try and make things better. We're just trying to make better stuff, right? But at the same time, there's been a requirement for it because of emissions. You have to have smoother gear changes. You have to have more controlled fuel consumption and more controlled emissions output, and you can't do that if the gearbox is unmetered, because if you have the driver in control of the gearbox, you might as well not bother putting emissions down there, because if someone's driving around country lanes in the UK in second and third gear,
and you want to be in second and third gear driving down a country lane, because
especially in GTI trying to get one of the wheels off the floor.
Exactly, that's what you're trying to do.
Yeah. So,
oh man,
I mean, I don't know. I mean, just one thing worth saying. I just saw. Do you know what year the Opel was?
It was 3 years old.
Okay, so you can't blame General Motors for that then. 2017, it says that PSA bought it from General Motors. They paid $2.2 billion for it.
Wow.
Now, they got Britain's Vauxhall, and
but still, $2 billion.
Yeah, $2.2 billion. Yeah,
that's a lot of money.
A lot of money.
That's a lot of money. That's all I could.
Yeah, I mean, look, we've got a very, very small dealership here for Opel.
Well, it's
we have what, 2 or 3 that come in, and the constant problem is, well, we just can't get the parts because the dealership's so small. They don't hold parts in stock. It's difficult to get hold of them, and there's no real equivalent. So, you know, somebody brings a Seat in and we can't get parts because there's no dealer, but we can go and get the equivalent off of a Golf or an A3.
Yeah.
We don't have that with Opel. We just don't get it. So it's a shame.
Best car name of the week.
This could be a good one. I feel like this needs a jingle.
Yeah, we need a.
Yeah, we need one. We have to get the creatives on it.
And so I did go, before I tell you the name of this vehicle, I did then go into the website and take a look, and their tagline, the first title as you scroll down from the car, is "Vibe Different."
Nice.
Vibe Different, and they do have an orangey yellow color for one of them, but Vibe Different is the first thing you see. Suzuki is the car maker. The Franks.
Oh my word! I saw one the other day. Yeah,
Franks. I had to get close.
It was parked outside at the gate.
A Suzuki Franks.
Ridiculous.
What a name, the Franks.
What did they? Who passes that? I mean, do these not have like focus groups and Suzuki? That's some bad names.
I just love the name, the Franks.
That's some bad names.
I don't understand why that. I don't even know what they're thinking.
I mean, what's it supposed to mean? That
does
it give you any reason for? I feel like that needed justifying.
Yeah.
You know, if you come up with that in a design meeting, surely you need to show your workings for that one.
You know, say hello to the Franks. It's a next generation vehicle that allows you to break free from routine and make the ordinary extraordinary. What are you going to do? Vibe with the Franks, and they need an extra space in that on their website.
The vibe is probably the fact that they just shake, rattle, and roll while you're driving it. It's a Suzuki.
I'm just looking at the design. It's the design of everything these days. You know, kind of that small SUV.
Generic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to see if there's a meaning for the word Franks. No, there isn't. No. No. Oh, Suzuki, Franks. No, Maruti, obviously the Indian one.
Yeah. Interesting.
Nothing. There's no reason for it. There's absolutely no reason. In fact,
this is just a great name. It's just a great name for a car.
For some reason, the Suzuki website has got pictures of it with no wheels on it.
Yeah, the wheels come off and then they go on. It's a little animation. Isn't that nice?
I mean, is that for if you buy one and take it to Chicago?
You know what it reminded me of when I was... and it's got this really cool heads-up display. Nice. Like a fighter jet. Anyway.
Anything but to look at the dashboard. Don't look at the dashboard.
Look at the dashboard.
You're sick.
You know what? At first glance, when I saw this and I was looking through the pictures, I just kept thinking of a Subaru Outback. It kind of has, on the little raised version, kind of Subaru-ish.
Right, we have an answer.
Oh, okay.
The breakdown meaning of the word Franks. Okay.
Drum roll.
So it's a shortened word from 2 words of frontier next.
Ah, the Francs. It's a Frontier Next.
I mean,
Okay. Yeah, Next Frontier. It's a Star Trek vehicle.
I mean, I don't. Couldn't. I mean, it'd sound better as an NXF, no? Then it's Next
Yeah.
Frontier, so it's grammatically
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah,
Next Frontier.
that would have been better.
NXF would have been a lot better name for a car.
Yeah.
You need to bring back the initials of car
Well,
names.
and that's what Toyota is. Honda's a big one. Toyota's got a couple of those, but Honda does lots of just the C whatevers.
Yeah, CRV, HRV,
Yeah.
NSX.
I don't know where the HRV came from. I know that one sort of came out of nowhere in the last bunch of years.
Yeah,
It makes me think of HVAC. Every time I see that, I just think it's an HVAC vehicle.
The AC systems are really cold in Hondas.
So
it could well be that. It could be that.
Imtishan Gyado got rid of his beloved Land Cruiser that he brought back to life, and his daily drive is now a Honda. He's back in a Honda. He's a Honda guy, and he's bought a Pajero or Prado, not a Pajero, a Prado that he's rebuilding.
I was like another project.
Well, he always likes to have a project, that man.
Yeah,
Pajero. Don't want to say that. That's
no, don't get those two mixed up, please. Could cause all sorts of arguments. Yeah, no, I mean it's just it's no different to me saying that Opel were owned by GM, but technically it's not Chrysler anymore. Stellantis,
yeah, whatever.
What a name! Surely they. I mean, Elon Musk has got to buy Stellantis for his.
He's got to,
for his SpaceX.
Joey's driving around in a Volkswagen, and I've been sending you some
All
things.
is right in the world again.
Yeah, it's all is right. Although his big complaint, he always has a complaint. And he did verify that, because the claim to fame of Joey Woo is he is a gastronomic mechanic, in that he's a mechanic who likes to drive rental cars, and he loves to rewarm some of his kitchen extravaganzas on the dash.
I think we should call him a gastronaut.
A gastronaut. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
And so the other day I did ask him, because he's warming up all sorts of things on the defroster on the dash. Got about an hour and almost a 2-hour trip, so he gets it nice and piping by the time he gets to where he's going. And he did send back on his gimbal that he also keeps room deodorizer, like a heavy duty can, in the car.
Yeah.
Sprays it down after.
Necessary. Yeah. Necessary.
He's got a herring cheese sandwich going on the dash, and I don't even think any Febreze is going to help you in that car. So.
Steak Canadian sellotape to the window defroster. Everything's rare.
But his big complaint, and I guess this is one that I don't know. Do they have a lot of concrete grooved roads in the UK?
No, there's more sort of potholes.
Okay, so we got potholes too. There's some concrete grooved roads where they've, instead of using macadam or tar-based road cover, they use concrete. And when they groove those things, driving on it, if you're in a small wheelbase, a narrow wheelbase, which I guess he's got with the whatever he's driving, it wasn't a T-Roc, it was something in between. And he said the darn thing just goes all over the road as soon as he hits the grooves.
Not enough weight and plant on the suspension.
But otherwise, he's back in a Volkswagen. Life couldn't be GM boy all the way. But that was his first car, powder blue Rabbit 4-door, with a lot of switches, mod switches, because if you sometimes you had to get extra cooling going, and lights and things. And they were not pretty switches; they were just toggles. Bolted under the dash.
Some of them didn't do anything, but they look good.
They look good.
Just watch Top Gun. Sorry, flick a few switches on a date. It looks good, doesn't it? I used to have a guy so I used to deliver Chinese food from a takeaway when I was 17. I started. I just passed my test.
Now, quick question, because I always wonder about this. I mean, takeaway here is one thing, but takeaway in the Western world, did you get a free meal every
night? Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, every night. And then on a Tuesday when they were shut, Tuesday tends to be the day that they have off.
Yeah.
Used to clean the extractors out on a Monday
Okay.
for them because I could reach up there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we'd go from there to the casino or the Greyhounds, depends what time we got finished. And then from there at like 2-3 a.m., the Chinese market would open about 3:30. So then we'd go Tuesday morning to the 3:30, 4 a.m., whatever it is, the Chinese market, and get all the produce for the following week.
Wow.
And then go home 7 o'clock. And that was good. And then once I'd started to realise that my 9 to 5 was being affected by the Monday nights, Tuesday mornings, that sort of died down a bit.
Yeah.
But no, it was it's good. It's good stuff, that. But yeah, when
did you here's the other question, because you always get people to talk about, pizza delivery people or working in a cafe and bakeries, and you get sick of the food. Did you ever get sick of the Chinese?
No.
I worked at a coffee kiosk when I was going to university called Treats.
Yeah.
And they would have 12 different kinds of coffee, and all the different blends, and and I wasn't a big coffee drinker, so it wasn't a big issue. But we made all these little gooey cookies as well.
Yeah.
I never got tired of them, ever.
Yeah. I mean, I started off obviously just taking what an option off the menu every night.
Yeah.
Taking it home. But once I'd been there for a while, and they got. I mean, I knew them quite well anyway. Their shop was down 3-4 doors down from the butcher's I worked in, and they used to come and buy the steaks from there.
Okay.
I knew them well. And the lady, Tina, that was a sort of the name she chose as her English name. She used to talk to me on a Saturday when I'd be in there, and she'd come in and buy the steaks. And she just kept saying to me, as soon as you pass your test, I need a driver. As soon as you pass your test, I need a driver. And then that was it then. Jeff, who the butcher that I worked for, wasn't too happy about it because obviously I was getting paid more money as soon as I did that.
Yeah.
Whereas in the butcher's I was on £2 an hour, and then there I'd go there and I would get £20 just for turning up, and then depending on the length of the delivery, because I was using my own car, I'd get some deliveries I get like £3 for a delivery, and it'd take like 30 minutes. Happy days.
Yeah.
So I'd like tripled my wages plus a guarantee.
Yeah.
So he wasn't too happy about it. He could see which way it was going then before,
And you got a meal out of it.
But
too.
the Saturdays, like the Fridays and Saturdays, and you just get big tips. Big tips.
Nice.
Yeah, big tips. And Christmas Eve, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Big tips. So it was always good. But yeah, I started off with just menu items. But you do get bored of that. Because I don't like everything on the menu. But then obviously as I've been there a bit longer, and I'd sort of get in a little bit early. The shop would open at 5, but deliveries started at 6, and I'd be working till 5. I'd drive straight in from work, so I'd get there a bit early, and then they'd you'd always have the sort of lull, and it was normally around the time that the soap operas run.
Right, of course.
So for sort of 7 p.m, you'd have like Emmerdale, it was called. Then you'd have Coronation Street and EastEnders, so you'd have like an hour and a half block, sometimes 2 hour block, depending if it was a double episode. So people would order to sit and eat watching that. So between sort of 7:30 and 8:30, 9, you'd have pretty much of a lull. So that's when they'd eat their family meal. So I'd just jump in on that usually, and it would be like proper authentic stuff, not like Hong Kong or Cantonese style food from a fast food menu.
Yeah.
And that was the good stuff. That was the nice stuff. That was the stuff that you'd eat and you wouldn't feel like heavy afterwards and regret eating it. But no, my car used to absolutely stink. Real bad, and technically because of the regulations in the UK with the car insurance, I shouldn't have been. It was illegal to do that.
Huh.
If you technically get into an accident or get pulled over by the police delivering food, working from your car, you should have different insurance for it.
Yeah. Okay.
I was 17, 18. I wasn't going to do that. It was all like stick it to the man sort of attitude, and a little bit of ignorance to start with, but people do it.
Yeah,
doesn't mean it's right. And it would be nice to say, well, the police haven't got time to prosecute people doing that sort of stuff. But unfortunately, in the UK, that's the kind of stuff they want to get you for.
Yeah, that's easy. That's low-hanging fruit.
Yeah. So that was the case. But the whole point of that was, I remember training a new driver because I was starting to say, look, I need to stop doing this. I'm taking my
By the way,
proper job.
You're listening to Glenn Power from PowerWorks Garage, if you're wondering.
Formerly of Greenland Takeaway in Homewood.
There we go. So we've got all the folks from Greenland.
Yeah.
Who
01246853179. That's the number.
Are they still in operation?
Yeah, doing less days now.
Okay, less days, but they make great takeout, and Glenn will attest to that.
Yeah,
so
definitely. He's getting the salt and pepper chicken.
Yeah, salt and pepper chicken. There we go.
So I remember training a new driver, and he was a little bit older than me. He was 4 or 5 years older than me. I knew of him from having older friends that, and his name was James, and he was big into his VWs as well. And at this point, I'd got my Mark II, which I didn't use all the time for deliveries. If there was a chance that, I'd have to double up my delivery shift with a date, I might use that car. But normally I just use my Polo or something. And I remember taking him out to sort of show him a few of the awkward ones that we have to go to. And he's in his car. And he's got this button on his dashboard. So back to